Welcome to everyone. So, we are going to start our discussion with the chapter The Fundamental Unit of Life, Cell. Remember, this is a new foundation discussion. So, we are going to have a discussion that is going to, intense your NEET preparation. And this chapter, Fundamental Unit of Life, you can see this chapter is there in class 9 CBSE, and also there after that in class 11 also the chapter Cell is there. Now I have mentioned it as a introductory chapter, right? Introduction to Cell. This video is Introduction to Cell part 1. So introduction is not finished in this video. We have another video, that is part 2, that is also there. Now what we are going to discuss, that is the main thing. We are going to discuss this chapter. We are going to start our discussion with the first question, that what is our cell? Now, as you can see, the first question, what is a cell? Many of you already know the answer. You will tell me, sir, cell is the basic structural and functional unit of life. After that, I am going to ask you, what is structural and functional unit? Why did you say cell is the basic structural and functional unit of life? Right? Very logical question. Why it's a structural unit? Why it's a functional unit? See, in this planet, like human beings, is only one of the species. There are around 1.7 to 1.8 million species are existing, discovered so far. Scientists predict much more than this number. Now, obviously, if this many species are present, what they are made up of? Yes, obviously they are made up of cell. We know that all the living things are made up of cell. So, can we say it's a structural unit? Yes, because it has been observed that whether it's a single cell organism like amoeba, whether it's a big animal like elephant or giraffe, that is also made up of cell. Now, the number of cell obviously different. A single cell is single cell, only one cell. Multicellular organisms have trillions of cells. Human beings also have trillions of cells in our body. Now, as I say, it is the structural unit of life, which means you can compare it with your house. Your house is made up of bricks. So many thousands of bricks, they are joined together to make the house. Similarly, millions of cells, they are there in your body. You can say an adult human being have more than 100 into 10 to the power 14 number of cells. And how many cells we have? Around 25% is present into our blood. Now we'll have a discussion on this, how many cells we have, their shape, their size, their work. So we can say that we are made up of cell. It's the structural unit of life. We are made up of cell. Why functional unit of life? Functional unit of life, that is because all the actions, all the biochemical reactions, everything is taking place in our body is actually happening at the cellular level. At the cellular level, it is taking place. Each and everything. You know that we have cytoplasm in our cell. It's a chemical factory of the cell, right? Cytoplasm is the chemical factory of the cell. Then we have many other organelles into the cell as well. So all the functions that is taking place, like we are a multicellular organism, so we have specialized cell into our body. This specialized cell, they are doing specialized work, and for specialized work, the organelles are working differently. What are the different parts? Here I have mentioned only about the cell membrane, cytoplasm, nucleus, but you already know that there are many other parts rather than this. Also, I have shown you that cell can be of different types. Here I have shown you the plant cell and the animal cell, but I already told you there are around 1.7 to 1.8 million species are present, right? And all the organisms, all the living things, I must say, all the living things are categorized into 5 kingdoms. How many of you know? Tell me. Monera, Protista, fungi, plant, animal. Right? These are the 5 kingdoms. Now, we understand that we are made up of cell. All the reactions or the biochemical functions in our body are taking place inside the cell. That's why the cell is rightfully it can be called as the basic structural and functional unit of life. That is true. Now the next question is, can you see the cell? If not, why? The thing is, there the largest cell, ostrich egg, we can see. The longest cell is a neuron, and the smallest cell is the mycoplasma. But the average cell, it falls into the micrometer level. Do you have any idea about the micrometer level? You have heard about kilometer, meter, centimeter, even millimeter also you have heard. But you have not heard about micrometer or nanometer. How small they are. Do you have any idea? Alright, so here you are here to get the idea, right? So I'm going to tell you. See here, as I told you before, a newborn, you can see the newborn with a 2 into 10 to the power 12 cells here. Then the adult human body has around 100 into 10 to the power 14 cell. And all the cell, how the number of cell increased? The number of cell increased by cell division, right? Cells divide. That's why the cell grown from 2 into 10 to the power 12 to 100 into 10 to the power 14. That number is huge. So obviously our body is made up of trillions of cells, and they are doing all the necessary functions to keep us alive. But the question I asked you, how small they are? Can you see them? How can you see them? So that is the topic we are going to discuss next. So the next topic that we have is microscopy. Why microscopy in cell study? Because without a microscope, you cannot observe anything. And if you cannot observe, then obviously you cannot do a proper scientific study on them. So to do a proper scientific study, we need to know the microscope. See here, if you look carefully, you will see there are 2 words, micro and scope. What is the word micro means? How small they are. Let's see. Here you will have an idea. You have the geometry box scale in your hand. Take it in your hand. If you have the geometry box scale, you look, you can see easily the millimeter marks. The smallest lines, those are the millimeter lines. Now, I'm going to ask you to divide that millimeters, the millimeter gap into 1000 parts. Again, I'm telling the smallest gap between the 2 smallest lines, that is 1 millimeter. You are going to divide that 1 millimeter into 1000 parts. Then you get 1 micrometer. Now, you can imagine how small it is. With our open eyes, we can see up to 0.1 millimeter. 0.1 millimeter without any instrument. But here I'm going to tell you that you divide that 1 millimeter gap into 1000 part. Then you get 1 micrometer. So obviously it is very, very small, and with your open eyes you don't have a chance. And that actually what happened. Many thousands of years people had no idea. There is a invisible living world, but people have no idea. They didn't know that these tiny organisms, they exist. Then there are some smart people who were ahead of their times. The smart people actually did their work. So what did they do? See the next. Here you can see invention of microscopy. Did they discover the microscope that we see in our school directly? No, obviously no. No discovery ever happened like that. Just imagine, you probably watching this in your mobile phone or your computer. Did it arrive like that from the first day? No. Obviously no. Even today, the cell phones are improving, the desktop computers, laptops, better qualities are coming. Every few days we have a new product. Now here also you can see the first ever was Zacharias Janssen. Here you can see 1590. Then comes Galileo Galilei 1609, Robert Hooke 1665. You are familiar with him because he is the person who first used the term cell, and there is a diagram he has drawn which is very famous. He observed the cork cell of the plant. Although he observed the dead cells of a plant, he had no idea about at that time, but now we know that he actually observed some dead plant cells, right? Anyway, next comes Antony van Leeuwenhoek, then Joseph Jackson Lister, then very recently Noll and Ruska, these two German scientists, they have discovered something incredible. They have discovered electron microscope. The previous all the microscopes were based on light, but Noll and Ruska, they have used electromagnets and electrons instead of light, and by doing this they have achieved a great feat. They achieved a magnification of up to 5 lakh times. We are going to discuss about that. 5 lakh times magnifications. Can you imagine one object is magnified 5 lakh times? So how much detail you can see into them, right? So this is the chronology of discovery. Then see, I have kept Leeuwenhoek's microscope first because it's the simplest one. You may doubt it as a microscope as well because it's a very small device with one convex lens. If you look carefully, there is only one convex lens. From the other side you have to observe. But what he has observed? He has observed the bacteria in the pond water. He has observed the sperm cells. He has observed the red blood cells, yeast, and many other microorganisms he has used. He is also mentioned as the father of microbiology, right? See, he has made around 500 microscopes in hand, each one slightly different, but 500 by hand. And magnification, he got a magnification of around 200 to 300 times, which was way ahead of his time. Next, Robert Hooke's microscope. Although Robert Hooke worked before Leeuwenhoek, but I have kept Leeuwenhoek's first because the device was very simple. Robert Hooke's won 2 lenses, eyepiece and objective lenses. Magnification was better. The best thing is what he observed, he drawn it, recorded it. He also wrote a book. What is the name of the book? Who knows? Yes, it is Micrographia, right? And there is a very important significance relates with Robert Hooke. What is the significance? He is the first person to use the term cell, and in his book Microscopy, one chapter is there which actually gave birth to the modern cell biology. Cell biology, it's a modern biology, is one of the most interesting and fascinating field to do research and study. So that actually came from the book Micrographia. See, we have here, if you look carefully, if you read, you can understand that what he has done. What is Micrographia? It's a detailed account of microscopic observations, contain 58 copper plate illustrations, covers a wide range of subjects: insect, plant, minerals, fibers, crystals and more. Masterpiece that combines science, art and curiosity. These people are definitely ahead of their time. Nobody thought like that. These people have done a remarkable work, right? Okay, you can see the images, the original images from the book. Moving on to the next, see the light microscope and the compound microscope. We can see Obviously the light microscope, the simple microscope, magnification is less. It's, for dissecting purposes we are using. Compound microscope, yes, it can give you a magnification of up to 1500 or sometimes 2000 times of magnification can be observed, and we are using it regularly at our schools, colleges, etc. Right? So different cells we can see, like onion peel cell, which is very common, then bacteria, red blood cell, protozoa, etc., we can observe with the compound microscope. Now most of the student, what I have encountered, that most of the student, they know about the compound microscope, they also know about the electron microscope, at least they have heard about the electron microscope, but there are other types of microscopes available which many students have no clue about. What are those microscopes? See here, I have included 6 types. You don't have to know the details of these microscopes, you just have to know that this type of microscopes also exist. If you study biology in higher classes, if you do research in biology, you will probably use. See the names. We have stereo microscope, phase contrast microscope, dark field microscope, fluorescence microscope, confocal and polarizing microscope, all used in different purposes. Right? Did you know these names before? If you knew, very good. If you did not know, you can write it, at least the names. Right? I also have mentioned their uses, where they have been used. Next, the giant, the electron microscope. Right? Why I am telling it giant? Because, as I said, discovered by Noll and Ruska, German scientist. In the year 1931 and 32, they have discovered it, and it was put to use on the year 1940. So what did they do? They used electromagnets for magnification and electrons for illumination. Right? What is their function? It uses very high voltage electricity, helps to observe subcellular structures. Subcellular, I'm telling, very small structures which you cannot have an idea with a compound microscope. Right? To make the sample, right, the specimen, directly you cannot observe. First you have to make the specimen to watch under the electron microscope. So making the object ready for the electron microscope's work itself is, very difficult. The object must be ultra thin and dry. Then it is impregnated with some metals to enhance the contrast. And the image, it is mostly obtained on a screen. See, you can see 2 types are there: transmission electron microscope, then scanning electron microscope. You can see their magnifications as well. Remarkable they are, as I am telling you, remarkable. All the modern discoveries in cell biology, the pathways and all, electron microscopes is, incredible. It's not only biology, it's not related to biology only. Material science, you tell nanotechnology, you tell medicine and forensic science, everywhere the use of electron microscope is increasing day after day. Right? Okay. Next, what do we have? So in this video we are going to stop our discussion here with the electron microscope. The next, immediately the part 2, as I said, the part 2 will be about the different aspects, right? So this is the part 1 we have discussed. Please watch the part 2 to know the full introduction of the chapter cell for your NEET foundation. Thank you.